All right. Hello, health heads. Welcome and thank you for checking in to this dose of the Healthcare Uprising. I'm your producer in the back, Jeremy Carr, here with your host in the front row, Heather Pierce. So, what's on the agenda for today, Heather?
Today we're talking about the heart, which I'm very excited about.
One of my favorite topics these days, actually.
Yeah, so we haven't had any conversations with anyone specifically about the heart yet, so this is a first. We're meeting with Chris Darland, who is the CEO of a company called Peerbridge, and they have this really cool device called Core, C-O-R, the Peerbridge Core, which does some really awesome remote monitoring. It's essentially a device that you wear, and he's going to tell us all about it and how it helps with heart disease and seeing heart failure before it happens and all sorts of really cool things that it can help
And it can
people
do it anywhere.
anywhere.
It's a really cool little thing.
Yeah,
It's even cool to look at. So,
it does. It is a pretty
links-
neat looking device.
Thanks to the website in the show notes. But so without further ado, let's get into it here with our conversation with Chris Darland from Peerbridge Health.
Hi, and welcome to the Healthcare Uprising podcast. Today we have Chris Darland, CEO of Peerbridge. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Really good to be here.
Yeah, we're excited. I'm excited about this because, and you're going to tell us all about what Peerbridge is about, but you're part of the solution in rural healthcare. And we live in kind of rural areas. I work in rural healthcare. So this is something that's really,
Yeah, that's
um,
big for us in northern Arizona.
it really is. So this really is something meaningful because we are out here, right, in the rural parts of America saying we need help.
A
So,
big deal in Kentucky and Tennessee as well.
yeah,
Oh, there you go.
All right.
I'm
yeah.
sure they have similar areas.
And you're in Nashville,
I am.
which is like a new burgeoning area of startups in healthcare, which I think is really cool. I don't think a lot of people know that. So tell us about what you're doing, Chris. Give us your background. You're not originally from healthcare, but now you have a healthcare company. So
That's
tell
right.
us what it's all about. What brought you here and what are you doing with Peerbridge?
What we're doing at Peerbridge is trying to get really, really inexpensive cardiac diagnostics. And I think what my experience with heart disease was kind of as I grew up. All my family was in relatively rural parts of Kentucky, and in and out of the hospital constantly. Maybe not the healthiest diet, a lot of smoking, but inevitably kind of what felt like a never-ending cycle of ER visits. Now, thankfully, I mean they all ended well. And my grandpa, as an example, although battled heart disease his whole life, lived to his 90s. But it wasn't without a lot of stress on the family. And like I said, about every 18 months there was some emergency that came up. And what I came to realize after the first 18 years of my career or so was in GE all over the world, as I dug in more to the healthcare space. I mean, cardiologists can pretty much fix anything. Now, if
Yeah.
if you if you find it, it's not like cancer, it's not like Alzheimer's where there's an element of mystery remaining. Um, but my grandpa's experience of being in and out of the hospital, which he would probably view as a miracle, because every time he's in the ER, he leaves either with a pacemaker working 100% or whatever it was, could have been completely prevented, if you would have just detected heart failure as an example, or aortic stenosis as an example early enough. So everything we're doing is trying to get really, really inexpensive and remote ways to detect heart disease, knowing that if we can fix that piece, there's a million other brilliant cardiologists that know how to go treat it and fix it, but we've got to go find it first.
Got it.
I heard something recently about the stats on heart disease and how it used to be so by far the biggest killer in the country kind of thing. And that over the last decade, the numbers have dropped precipitously on that. Is that accurate? I forget where I
Uh,
heard it from.
in different phases. So like heart attacks used to be effectively a death sentence 50
Mm-hmm.
years ago. We've gotten better and better and better at treating it. So heart attacks aren't nearly as fatal as they once were. But some items like heart failure have actually gotten worse over the last few years. And part of it is
Oh,
because we're getting better at other things. And the heart is just a muscle. So eventually it's going to give out at some point. So as you get smarter at managing diabetes, potentially like GLP-1s, could be great in the short term for heart, but now that you start to manage that as a risk, and the population gets older and older, then the heart is usually what's going to give out first. So I think to your point, with what a lot of the I think the medical device companies, the big medical device companies, Boston Scientific and Medtronics, have done a really great job investing in things that for a long time were killers for people. Heart pumps is an example as you go in for a procedure, and to have a tool be able to pump blood for your heart and let it naturally recover is a fantastic tool for keeping people alive longer. But the hope now is how do you avoid ever needing a heart pump in the first place,
Right.
which I do think cardiologists have made leaps and bounds improvements. And what's great is it's less invasive every year too. A lot of heart procedures are essentially catheters, where you're just snaking into the heart and you can repair in pretty quick order and without a lot of risk, which is fantastic. But once again, it's all about if you can catch it in time, the solutions exist. There's no surprise there.
Hmm.
Crazy.
So
So,
he's telling me to go to the doctor is what he's doing, right?
Go to the doc. Well, this is the problem is so my dad lives in the middle of Kentucky at the end of a long gravel driveway, so he will not go to the doctor.
of
Um,
course,
and
not
if he
right.
goes to the doc, or let me say, he will not go to a cardiologist because then he's got to drive to the University of Kentucky, and it's an hour and a half drive, and he'd much rather be watching Ice Road Truckers for another half an hour.
It's a
Um,
great show.
it, 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 it it's why my son probably likes to go to his house more than anything. Um,
Grandpa's house is fun.
yeah, that's exactly right. But he will go to a primary care doctor every couple of years. But I suspect he goes and he lies for a half an
Mm.
hour.
Oh no, I feel fine. Nothing wrong with me.
What he's eating and how active he is and all these things, how many beers he has in a week. So it's in effect just like get in and get out. And not probably the workup that he actually needs. Because I mean, my gut tells me, my dad and millions of people like him. If you told him, hey, we identified this and we know how to fix this, but you have to go to the University of Kentucky as an example, he would go. But if you tell him you have seven of the eight largest risks of heart failure,
Mm.
you should probably go see somebody. There's no way he'd never get
Yeah.
up and leave. So I think we got to get to him.
So that's what you're trying to solve for?
That's exactly right. Is either
So,
one of two things. Like, can you
okay.
have a tool? And here's kind of the first generation device on my desk right here. So a tool you could have in a
Is that the
cardiologist
core?
office.
Is it called core?
Yeah, it's called the
COR?
Peerbridge Core. Yep, it's a
Okay.
three-lead BCG patch. But if you can have it in a doctor's office, primary care office, and wear it for 5 minutes to kind of get um, a full cardiac profile, or the next generation device, which is currently being reviewed by the FDA, has a cellular chip, so you could just mail it to my dad's house, and he can put it on at home, and we can get all the
Oh.
information off of it, and he could either drop it back off at a primary care doctor or mail it back to us, and you have everything you need to then jump on the phone. If not an emergency, jump on the phone with the cardiologist. There's lots of really great virtual cardiology practices that are popping up around the country
Hmm.
right now, which is fantastic. So then you could have a thoughtful conversation with a cardiologist. Most things, if you catch them early enough, can be treated with generic drugs and pretty basic therapies. And if he has to go somewhere in an emergency case, then you jump on the road and like I said, at the University of Kentucky or Louisville. But being able to do it really fast, I think, is important.
Hmm.
And remote is a big deal for us. And then ultimately to
So
win rural communities, it's got to be
so it's a
internet.
little device. You literally just stick on yourself for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and
How does
anywhere you are, and in 5 minutes it gives you all your heart data.
Yeah. So the way to think
That's Star
through it,
Trek.
yeah. So
Like
it's
we're almost Star Trek.
Yeah.
I would love to take credit for the technical side of it, but our CTO, a guy named Sandeep Gulati, is brilliant. So he spent most of his career on perfecting different ways to kind of manage ultra weak signal processing. So he's with NASA on one of the
Oh,
early
wow.
AI teams for NASA in the early 90s. He did a lot of work for the Department of Defense for IED detections, like using satellite imagery
Hmm.
it's IED detection in highly forested areas. So the bet we made, we joined at about the same time, the company about 2.5 years ago. The bet we made was You could actually take the signal from the device, which is pretty high fidelity signal, and use some of the signal processing tools that have existed, for 20 years in other contexts, in government context.
Hmm.
And then you can tell things about the heart or see little subtleties in the heart that a lot of academic cardiologists have theorized for 30, 40 years. Some of this research from the 60s, but can never be proven in the real world because the real world is just too messy. So
Mm.
you have all these theories that have been collecting dust for 50 years, and kind of this interesting point in time when all these different technologies that have sort of tangentially existed are coming together and then can tell you everything pretty quickly. So you're right. I mean, the ability to wear it, have the data go up to the cloud, have the our algorithms compute, or essentially look for what we're looking for and give you everything you need about cardiac health.
How do
Um,
you wear it exactly?
Good question. So there's the way it's used and cleared for today is for arrhythmia detection, and usually that's anywhere from, let's say, like 3 to 7, maybe sometimes even 14 days. But there's just an adhesive, like a
Oh, okay.
peelable adhesive on the back. I thought I had one next to me. So you just peel the adhesive off and you put it right on the kind of upper sternum,
Hmm.
and you go through normal day-to-day life. So in showers and running around. And the initial intent of this market was looking for AFib and different kind of irregular heartbeats.
Hmm.
So those hardly ever happen when you're laying in the hospital doing a 10-second
Right, never.
EKG. So
Yep.
like go the last 15 years or so has been
Uh-huh.
go live your regular life with a really, simple patch, and let's see what we can find. So
So
we're
the
That's
piggybacking
really
on that.
cool.
so you wear it for how long, typically?
Most often today for arrhythmias, it's worn 7 days for
Seven
us.
days.
Yeah.
But
So you can
this,
really like find patterns and
Yeah,
okay.
see
yeah.
if
If you're
anything's really
looking
happening.
for sure for arrhythmias or any kind of irregular patterns, usually the more time, the better, because you don't know when it happens.
Hmm.
For heart failure and some of the things we're doing today, those are particular things we're looking for that really have nothing to do with everyday living, so we can do that pretty quickly. But what clinicians get excited about is having all of these things in one essential patient experience. So a
Hmm.
home sleep test as well is one of the things that we're in a trial for to pick up while you're sleeping at night.
Oh, okay. So ultimate goal is for heart failure detection,
Yeah.
correct? So it's measuring certain things, it's sending this information back to wherever, some kind of hub, I would assume.
Yeah.
So the hub in the
The
sky, the
cloud.
Yeah.
cloud, yes. Now, and I'm thinking about, and I think when you and I met initially, I had shared with you my youngest had a heart issue at one point. I'm like in my head, I told you this.
That's
We
right. The
did. We
Um,
did.
the
and he had to wear like a thing that attached and it was like kind of hung around his neck and there was like a little
Yeah.
square, but this is different, right? Like,
Well,
and
believe it or not,
explain.
those still kind of exist.
Oh, they
So
do. Okay.
yeah, so if you rewind 20 years before any of these patches existed, everybody, they called it a Holter monitor. You'd either
Okay.
put it around your neck or you'd strap like cassette, it looked like a cassette player to your waist, and then
Uh-huh.
you'd have the leads stuck all over you, and the data would be messy. For sure,
Mm,
you'd have to take it off and put it back on before and after showers. So the big
mm,
revolution from a wearable perspective happened. A company called iRhythm is really fantastic. They kind of led the way in like 2012, 13. They've
okay.
kind of moved, but still 25% of the market is as you described. It's these old, kind of, big clunky
Mm-hmm.
heavy devices that still exist
Okay.
today, but
Got
almost
it.
gone. Almost gone.
Okay. So this would
hmm,
be, it's kind of like the new and improved, the new technology, and it's AI enabled. So we definitely
It
need to
is.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Um, so you've been developing this, you've got this. Is it out on the market already?
Yeah, so it's out and cleared for the arrhythmia piece, so just
Okay.
monitoring ECG, and then we have trials underway to get, essentially the way the FDA thinks about it is kind of like labels that you stack on top of the device. So first we can, let's say we measure ejection fraction, then we go back to the FDA and say, well, now we want it to be a home sleep test as well, and then we agree on what we need to prove for that, and then we say, hey, we want to be able to flag heart failure or aortic
Mhm.
stenosis or whatever it may be. and we continue to add more and more utility. So it's all out there in trial format, but only the only thing we're selling right now is the arrhythmia detection.
Okay. And a patient or an individual will get that through their cardiologist. So cardiologists are kind of like that's where you really need to make the conviction, right? Like, okay, guys, this is good for you. This is good for your patients. And
That's
then
exactly right.
I would get that, or my kid, or whoever would end up getting the device as a wearable
That's
through
right.
our cardiologist.
That's right. I think most commonly cardiologist. I
Hmm.
think more and more primary care
Primary
doctors
care. Yeah.
are starting to get comfortable prescribing these devices.
Okay.
And I think the industry's done a good job, especially for AFib is probably the most common, which could potentially lead to stroke, is trying to screen early and earlier, as opposed to waiting until you need a cardiologist. And I think that's how we'll look at it too, because
Hmm.
the tricky part with heart failure, as an example, so 4 out of 5 heart failure cases are caught in the ER today. And it's mostly
Mm.
because the symptoms are somewhat they sound like age type symptoms. The shortness of breath, or I was walking up the stairs and I got a little bit lightheaded. And you say, well, you're also 70 and you're not exercising. So maybe, it's a diet thing. So then you kind of blow it off until it's too late. So more and more, I think primary care is trying to get their hands on some of these tools so they can effectively triage early, as opposed to waiting for the emergency to come.
Got it. Okay. I mean, it looks cool too. It looks very like modern.
No, yeah, it's the
It really does,
original
yeah,
founding
actually.
group came up with this design. It's actually quite thoughtfully built off. It's called Einthoven's triangle, but a certain geometry that allows us to derive all the leads.
I was gonna
Um,
ask that. Like, t tell me a little bit about the design and why it looks the way that. I mean, it looks like a tripod almost for
Yeah,
anyone
that's
not
exactly
watching the
right.
YouTube
So,
video.
Dr. Einthoven was one of the original innovators of ECG, and he won the Nobel Prize in 1924, essentially talking through some of the math of this design and where do you put leads and what can ECG tell you. And our founder, who was a pulmonologist at Northwell Health in New York,
Mhm.
specifically looking for kind of ultra high fidelity ECG, designed this device to be a miniaturization of the triangle that was one of Einthoven's kind of foundational inventions. So it was. I'll take no credit for this. They did a good job designing this in the first generation of the company back in 2015 and 2016, and making it look interesting as well as provide a lot of clinical utility. But yeah, there's a
Mhm.
lot of thought put into the put
And
into the
and
design.
comfort, right? Too, because like I was saying, how my son had to wear this one thing. It was awfully inconvenient having the thing hang around his neck, had the thing attached to his chest, and it wasn't small. It
Yeah.
wasn't like the profile of it was pretty high. So like it kind of you know, was a good, I don't
You
even
couldn't forget you were wearing it.
know. Oh
This thing looks
no.
No.
like you can forget you even have it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the trickiest part in development is different body types. So men versus women, or high
Mm,
BMI versus low BMI. Of course, we have one device that has to work for everybody. So there was a pretty good amount of thought put into it in the original development. And like you said, that you don't want to feel it as much as
hmm.
possible. Even though the adhesive is the only thing touching the skin, you need as mild an adhesive as you can get away with, so it's not falling off, but it's not
Okay.
causing any irritation. So although a lot of the I'd say the really interesting science comes in the software side, there's just a lot of just consumer-ish usability that you have to
Hmm.
consider when you build these as well.
Right, because the more pleasant the experience, the more likely everybody is to use it, right? Like
That's
if it's
exactly
an
right. And
uncomfortable
if it's
thing, people aren't
poorly
going to want to
designed
do it.
and they're ripping it off
Yeah.
after 8 hours, then the clinician's not getting what they need, and the patient's
Mm.
frustrated. Now the patient's gonna have to do another one, which means they got to grab something else off the shelf. So yeah, it's really important.
That's really cool.
Can I ask the AI question?
We
You
should
may.
definitely ask the AI question.
Um, I mean, actually, I have it's in two parts, if you don't mind. So everybody's always worried about their personal security. So I am curious as to how you secure people's identity through the whole cloud thing. But if you are getting all this heart data from all these different patients into one place like that, if it's all going into the cloud, do you have is there going to be an AI program to decipher all this data and start making sense of things we don't understand yet? And, maybe finding new problems we don't even know are out there or things like that, new treatments, maybe things like that. Do you see potential for that as well?
I think so, and I'll answer both sides. So everything we do, and Google, we use GCP for a lot of our cloud compute is all exceptionally secure. So the data is going straight from our device and it's sitting in all kind of HIPAA secure containers that we do everything on. Believe it or not, our models that they exist actually take no inputs on like patient metadata. So we don't take in age or sex or medical history. We get all that context on the patient directly from the ECG, which is where some of the interesting AI comes in. And most of the AI we use today, there's a lot of companies that use like these deep learning concepts where you're just throwing like terabytes of data into a machine, and then they find interesting correlations that may or may not hold up in the real world. I would characterize ours a little bit more on the machine learning kind of Roomba-esque type view where we're looking for very specific things based on all this research that we've pulled. So and it's important to us to be able to explain to a cardiologist what we found. So if we say we detected heart failure, like what did although maybe you can't see it with the human eye, like what specifically did the computer see that led it to believe that there was heart failure, and we can point to very like basic physiology to get there. So kind of like if you're looking at a room, but you don't know why it turned left, but you can sit there and say, well, there was a wall, and it since the wall so far in front of it, and then since there was no wall on the left, so then it just kind of positions. So although it's making its own decision, like there's logic that you can quickly point to on why it
Gotcha.
made the
It's
decision that it did.
learning
Uh,
the patterning to better diagnose things.
That's exactly right. And then where it could be really interesting, which we're exploring some partnerships on, is all of ours is we collect some accelerometer data, so a little bit of movement, ECG primarily, and some impedance data. I think what could be revolutionary in this space is if you start to bring in CGM data as an example, or EEG data at
What's
the same
CGM?
time. What's that?
What's CGM data?
Oh, like Dexcom, like continuous glucose monitors.
Oh,
So
okay.
you're pulling in glucose
Like from
information.
other
You're pulling in
sources. Yeah.
EEG data from. There's a lot of really cool kind of smaller form factor ECG collections around ears and things you can wear on your
Hmm.
head.
Okay.
Um, and you start to get more context on the patient outside of just ECG. Then I think that's where you'll pick up on patterns that are probably, even beyond what we think we can do today. And we think we can do a lot of really interesting things. But I think it'll likely come down to interesting partnerships in the future to really unlock pretty early tells. Because
Yeah.
everything's related for sure.
Right.
Anything
Right.
that you
Right.
see in the kidneys is related back to heart at some point. Sleep, of course, leads to all
Yeah.
kinds of
There's
heart issues.
something always going
Diabetes
on
leads to
somewhere
heart.
else.
Like the human body is pretty fascinating. Nothing really acts on its own. So the more the better. And that's where maybe these deep learning models could do a good job, is when you have
Hmm.
all this, really high quality data, and then importantly, it's longitudinal, following a patient over time, and watches are getting better. And I wear a Whoop, and Oura Ring's pretty good, but
Hmm.
uh, that's where it could really start to unleash some pretty cool outcomes.
Yeah. That's
Heather's been collecting the wearables since we started this podcast.
I do have quite a few.
What do you
Lots
do?
of
What do you
apps.
wear?
I have an Aura ring. Well, right now I have nothing on because of my
Well,
recent
she's all
Yep,
surgery.
because of
bandaged
the
up right
surgery.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Episode on that coming soon.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wear an Aura ring and I wear an Apple Watch, but then I have like other apps too, that like multiple apps that tie into both of
Yeah.
those, that are like reading me out different things, whether it be about like overall health, like specific to women's health, like
Yeah.
perimenopause, for example. So I've got emotional, how high is my stress today?
Oh, that's the well tour,
Whoop
right?
does that. Has like a stress
Yes, I've heard about Whoop too. That's the new one. I'm like, okay, now I need to look into that one.
As in whoop,
line.
there it is.
Yep.
Good one.
It's not cheap. I mean, none of these things are cheap, which is kind of
No.
I wore one of the Dexcom like over the counter
Uh-huh.
glucose monitors.
Oh,
for about
okay.
a month, which went haywire over like the Halloween day and a half.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
when I was with my kids, but I'm an experimenter as well. I think
Yeah, that's, oh, I don't know. Shoot, I should put a glucose monitor on my husband. He's been eating way too much sugar.
it is
I
like
keep,
it's interesting to see the patterns and what foods spike uh
yeah,
blood sugar, what don't. You should
yeah,
It's not necessarily what you think either, huh? A lot of
right.
the
uh-uh.
time.
It's
And
hidden.
eating certain things like eating grains or any kind of fat before sugar really brings down the impact
Oh,
of blood
okay.
sugar. So that's why I told my
Interesting.
wife, I was like, so if I just have some butter before I eat these nerds,
It'll just
then
balance
Put
it all out.
put a pat of butter
and
on that
everything will
candy
be all
bar,
right.
man.
And she wasn't sold.
I'm just gonna start buttering my candy bars.
There you
Yeah.
go. The doctor said this is good balance.
I heard this on a podcast, so it must make sense.
This is how misinformation works right
Right.
there.
Yeah. And this is why we have a disclaimer at the beginning of our show that says we're not doctors and we do
Yeah,
not play
no,
them
no,
on
no. Neither
TV.
am I. No, please.
Um, so I know, your original kind of inspiration behind this was you talked a little bit about your grandfather.
Yeah.
He's in a rural area, getting access to care. We know this, like rural healthcare has a real access issues. Um, I work for a company that's trying to solve for that too. Um, and it's good to see this happening. There's like this whole like rural transformation fund that's coming out. The one of the good things that's come out of the big beautiful bill is the rural transformation fund that I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
But
Something good came out of it?
yes, yes, it's a good one.
You'll have to explain that to me
I
later.
will. I'll tell you all about it. There's actually quite a bit of money that's being invested into rural healthcare. Um, and so we know we have issues around access. So in terms of, you know, getting care. We know that's the thing. How do you see this tool, right? And it's a tool, right? If for a
Yeah.
cardiologist or even a PCP, how do you see this improving things overall? Like how it's going to show up, how it might improve outcomes because of like the remote monitoring and all these other things. You said virtual practices. Like, have you already
Yeah.
started seeing like even anecdotally like huge like improvements with people's health, even individual patients?
Yeah, I think there's a couple layers of rural health that's tricky. I mean, there's especially in cardiology, it's hard to incentivize somebody who just spent 15 years going through school and, $600,000 to go set up shop in Springfield, Kentucky.
Right.
I don't blame him or her for saying I want to be in New York City or I want to be in Chicago or I want to be in Lexington, as an example. So I don't think we'll solve that soon. And believe it or not, I mean, there's less and less people trying to become cardiologists, which is a different problem. So how do you go incentivize
Oh,
that? So
okay.
people retiring from getting burned out, I
You
think.
know,
Hmm.
if we didn't charge them $600,000 to get there, maybe that would change.
That's exactly right. So I think there are some structural incentives that could exist that we need people to want to get into medicine for
Hmm.
sure. So let's say there's a shortage of cardiologists and there's an increasing demand for cardiologists for a variety of reasons and diet and everything else getting a little bit healthier so then the heart just ends up lasting a little bit longer and needing
Hmm.
care. So I think when I talk to clinicians, the general view is they want to help and they know that there's 10 times as many people that need their care as they're able to see. So even let's say let's remove rural care. I think that exists anywhere. It's how do you find the people that really need their help as opposed to maybe the people who have the money and the time to go spend an hour with them, which may not be the same people.
Hmm.
So being able to really effectively triage and say, these are the patients who need intervention now, and these are the patients who are actually okay. And not to mean that they can't go see a cardiologist, but if there's a 4 month wait list to see a cardiologist, the reality is if you talk to any of them, they could get somebody in tomorrow if they needed to. But they have no thoughtful way outside of, somebody coming into the ER to really figure out who needs them tomorrow and who is
Hmm.
fine to wait 4 months. So I think as a triage tool, it's really important. And that's actually how we kind of picture it extending into these rural communities is like
Okay.
there's not enough ultrasounds, like echoes are usually a pretty common tool for diagnosing heart disease. There's not enough echoes or echo techs in the world to keep up with the demand. So can you get into these communities, hopefully in primary care, but even kind of my vision, if you all have seen this, and I don't know if it's in Arizona, but in Kentucky, there'll be like dental trucks that go out to Appalachia and they'll just set up shop for a day and go through, 40 dental appointments for kids. Like if you could do the
Hmm.
same thing in Springfield, Kentucky, where you go out and you have 40, 50 people, usually let's say, males more than females over 60 years old with hypertension, then you'll find the disease pretty quickly. And then you'll know before you go to that cardiologist, they've got kind of a cheat sheet of here's exactly what you should be looking for. Because we're not gonna eradicate or try to get rid of echoes or some of the diagnostic tools, but if you can cut a 6 month wait to effectively zero, then you can get the care. And if it's not an emergency, yeah, there's a lot of really good companies. There's a company called Heartbeat Health, which is also a Northwell doctor that's doing a lot of really interesting virtual cardiology. So if it's not an emergency and now you can connect with the cardiologist and you can get care without leaving your house, I think that's
Mm.
fantastic and getting more real by the day. I think where we can play a unique role there is a lot of it is kind of physical symptom descriptions or a blood pressure cuff off of Amazon, or you step on a scale and say, hey, did you add any weight in the last day to try to get to congestion and other measures? Like if you can get hospital-like tools, then you can be even more thoughtful. And then there's a company called Ventricle Health out of North Carolina that's done a lot of work on how do you manage heart failure patients when they're out of the hospital to try to prevent readmission. So I think and then these are all cardiologists who have turned into kind of entrepreneurs and largely still practicing. So I think
Yeah.
there's this want to get out to the communities, and they're trying their hardest to find the tools to make it realistic. And that's the piece we're trying to play is we're not for sure experts on how to fix everything that could go wrong with the heart, but if we can just help get people to the people who are, we think we can make a pretty big difference.
Because we do have those RV clinics that
Hmm.
roll around northern Arizona, the
Do
dental
you?
ones. We have
Yeah.
full on like the full on medical clinic in an RV.
Yeah.
They go out to the res a lot, the Navajo reservation, and we have a lot of really small, really remote towns, like
Hmm.
places like Seligman and Ash Fork and things like that, where they don't have like there's places 100 miles from here that if they need a doctor, they have to come here
Here to Flagstaff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to Flagstaff. So we
Yeah.
we are very familiar with those mobile clinics and
Hmm.
stuff, but I mean that's the beauty of this technology though, right? Is once you can start getting all this equipment remote in an effective way, only the people who really need to see the doctor need to see the doctor once
That's
once
exactly
you
right.
implement that, right?
Yeah.
Like if everyone out there can just put on one of these monitors
Mhm.
and some light starts flashing somewhere when one of them actually needs attention, they go, "Oh, call this person, we need to see them." And
Right.
like
Yeah.
the doctor, wow, I didn't even realize that. If we set it up like this, the doctor could come to you. Like you could just put yourself in the system, have your data feeding in, and then if something's going wrong, they could call you and be like, "Hey, you should probably come in. We need to check something out." Is
That
I mean, is
that's
that a
exactly right. And
potentiality?
and 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 not to like jump to what I could hope could happen, but like say you're in Springfield and you have 20 of these and like you're gonna find my dad and his friend at Denny's. So you could like set up shop in the Denny's parking lot, Springfield,
Hmm.
Kentucky. You'll probably find enough people that it would even make sense for a University of Kentucky doctor to come to Springfield for a day and
It'd be
say
worth the
these
trip.
10
There
Yeah.
people,
you go.
yeah, we're going to come and work, and of course we're not going to set up a clinic, but there's a small hospital in Lebanon, Kentucky, which is not that far from Springfield, and for sure they can't afford to have experts
Hmm.
year round there. Um, but if the population is there and you're a doctor who wants to make an impact, and you've got these 10 guys and two ladies who really need your help, and rather than them driving all 2 hours, of which maybe three-quarters of them do, or maybe half, you go out there and knock it all out in one day, and it could be procedures that you're doing super fast in these cath labs, and you can live a long, happy, healthy life.
Yeah.
with the right intervention quickly. So I think that I'm super optimistic that we could have
That
at least get the ball rolling on some of this and get out to
a
these people.
big part, I think a big part of why people don't use their doctors, right? Is because they don't really know sometimes when they should go to the doctor because they don't really know what's wrong with them.
Yep.
Like people go to the ER with the flu. Like, what are they going to do? You know what I mean? But people just, and like I have things like with me, like I'll have some random pain and I'm like, I'll just walk it off. I'm good. I don't
Yeah.
go to the doctor.
You're dizzy, like walking, stand up real
But if I
quick,
could just stick
dizzy.
something on that I forget about, and then one day they call me and go, "Hey, you should probably come in. We need to see you before you drop dead tomorrow." I'd be like, "Oh,
That,
I would go to the doctor."
yeah, that feels
That
urgent enough.
You know what I mean?
that is my bet because that's what I worry a little bit. Like with like what is the level where my dad will go out of his way to drive a couple hours?
Well, it's like you said, if they can specify, we know that this is a problem and we can fix it real quick, just come in, we'll fix it. You got to,
yeah,
because as much as in medicine, we're trying to get away from treating people like machines and like having doctors treating the human body like a basic machine. I can tell you from being one, that's how middle-aged men see themselves when it comes to doctors a lot. If it's like bringing your car to the shop, you want to know what's wrong with it first. And then you bring it in and you say, fix this, please.
yeah,
Yeah.
If you can tell them, this is what's wrong with you, here's what we're going to do to fix it. Come in, you'll be done in
Yeah. Like
5 minutes,
tangible
2 hours,
data,
or whatever.
right? Like, oh, there is something going on here.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's worth it, right?
Right.
It's not worth it for me to spend 3 hours in the car to be told, actually, you're
Yeah.
probably okay.
Like,
Right.
right. If they don't have a specific, it's just like you said before. I'm just expounding on what you said. And that if it's like generally you're not in the best health, we should probably check you out. Whatever, I'm fine.
no way.
But if they can be like, hey, we detected this going on in your heart, we can do this to fix it. Please come in. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I
then okay, you have a plan. We're gonna get it done. Bang bang. We know what's happening.
Mm.
It's got that logic, very straightforward. Here's what's gonna happen, and I think that's what you need to get a lot of people to the doctor too. So
yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's for sure our bet. And what makes it tricky, extra tricky with cardiologists, you have your 3 hour drive. Um, but most likely after that first appointment, let's say my dad does, I convince him, you need to go see a cardiologist. They'll most likely in that first meeting scheduling an echo, which could be 2 to 3 months down the road. So you go back, you get your echo, and you come back, and they say, all right, now we have a follow-up appointment, and you go back. Like for sure, he is going to miss one of those three
Hmm.
appointments. And it's a little bit like the dentist, where it's like, what are you doing January 14th at 2 o'clock? And you're like,
I don't know
I'm
what I'm
coming
doing
to the
tomorrow.
dentist.
No clue.
I will see you there. And then it's
Yeah.
January 12th, and you're like, actually, I have no interest in going. And it could be because you have the kids that week, and you didn't know you had the kids that week, or something else came up, or and there's a million good reasons. So you call and
Mhm.
reschedule, and it's like, well, what are you doing March 10th? It's like,
Yeah.
see you
That
then.
the immediacy
Yeah.
is important, I think.
Right. If it could be a what are you doing right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
when people are engaged and they're like, wait a minute, now I want to know what's going on right now, but and then they're like 6 months, we'll see you. It's like, oh. Or the problem stops, right? That's happening.
Yeah, yeah, you
By the
feel a little
time
better.
you go back in, you're like, well, it's not really an issue anymore. So I'm canceling.
Yep. Yep.
So,
And the big difference for sure in heart failure as an example is catching it asymptomatically. That's when you're in the generic drug kind of realm where
mm-hmm.
you can treat it and be pretty happy
Yeah.
and, and
Less bigger problems, right? Like less and,
it's
and
exactly.
longer, I would say even
Just
like
tamp
longer
it
impact.
down. Just tamp it
Yep.
down.
Yep.
It's
Wow.
still burning. Just tamp it down.
That's exactly right.
I'm curious, and I didn't really ask this in the beginning of the show, but like, what are the statistics on heart disease and things like this that something like your device can assess for? Like, what are the kind of the numbers we're looking at, or
Like
that maybe you're
what is
familiar
it measuring?
No, just like like how many people are affected by heart disease, like kind of some of the
Oh, good
general
question.
statistics. I think it's important to kind of know like how close you probably are to having a heart problem than you are, you know what I mean? Than you're not.
Yeah, good question. So we focus primarily on heart failure. So think about it as kind of like a subset of broader heart disease. And there's about 1 million people every year that get diagnosed with heart failure. So in the case that I described, like 800,000 of those they're finding in the ER. And although hard to measure, there's been a few studies that would estimate upwards of 40 million Americans have asymptomatic heart failure today.
Hmm.
So they're walking around and don't know it. So
Wow.
they're heading down, which could be 5 years, it could be 7 years away for when it
Okay.
this is kind of stage C, and that's when you end up in the hospital. So it's pretty rampant.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I feel like too. For women particularly, like heart disease is one of those things that is goes far like very undetected in women.
Yeah.
Um, I know I've read. I am by no means an expert on that, but and that it shows up differently too. So like the
Yeah,
symptoms.
it's absolutely right. And that was one project we were potentially going to work on is in like ER visits, can you use the same tool? Because more often than not, let's say a guy who's 55 years old comes in with a chest strain from lifting weights, for
Okay.
sure gets admitted as a potential heart problem and gets the full gamut of tests. And then a woman comes in 20 minutes later saying, they're feeling the same strain, and then they're like sent home with stress. Like you're just stressed. Like
Hmm.
this is not necessarily because it is more common for men than women, but very quickly and maybe the woman who comes in doesn't say, no, 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 like let's do the full workup. It's like, okay, stress, you're right. It has been stressful. They get sent
Hmm.
away, which is a travesty. So if you could like very quickly, and in both cases, you don't want to go do tens of thousands of dollars of tests if you can avoid it.
Hmm.
But if you had a tool like this that you could sit there and put it on, and what we're looking for, you're right, does differ between men and women, and even pre and post menopause things change a little bit. So you got to like understand the tells. Um, then you can quickly say, okay, like I can move past your physical description, which for some people may be dramatic and some people be, um, not as intense as it probably should be, to empirical data that says, yep, you need to be up there with the echo, or we need you to be in the ER, or no, it is just indigestion. Like everything will be okay or some Tums, and then you can head home. But without strongly advocating for yourself, I think too often women in that scenario are sent home.
Hmm.
Makes me want to put on my menopause man
It
outfit.
does. Jeremy is our official,
Heather's
unofficial
turning me into a
menopause man.
superhero. She's making me a menopause
I
man
am.
outfit.
There you go.
It looks like Superman, but it's pink spandex. I'm looking very much forward to wearing it. No one else is going to want to see it though.
We talk
It
about a
sounds
lot of
it
women's
sounds
health on this
exciting.
show.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we've done like half a dozen episodes just on menopause.
Yeah,
I
it's
I I am willing to put my menopause knowledge against any man in America, including the doctors.
I trust you.
Because
I
I
trust
one
you.
of the things I've learned is how little the doctors know about menopause.
yeah, yeah, just all the weird things that happens to us when we're going through
Yeah.
it. So,
But just
and
women getting written off at the hospital like that
yeah,
for things that a man will be so quickly seen for,
yeah,
it
not
it's all too common a problem.
yeah, not unusual, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I don't think it's malicious, but it's just bias that people have built
Yep,
in, and they don't think twice about it. And it's just,
right.
it
It
leads to
That's
bad.
why this podcast that we started to specifically be about new positive innovation in healthcare.
Like Peerbridge, yeah,
That was the statement coming into it.
yeah,
And we start doing it, and it's at least half of our episodes are women's health.
yeah. A lot of innovation happening in that space.
That's because that's where all the
Fantastic.
innovation is,
Yeah.
because that's where it's needed, because of what we're talking about now and how the healthcare industry has treated
Yeah.
women in the past.
And devices and wearables. That's the other thing too, is a lot of people that we meet, like you, it's all about this being able to test yourself at home, right? Or like to monitor. That's another trend we're seeing. So
That's probably the biggest positive change, actually,
yeah.
is the doctor can come to you
Hmm.
with all this stuff.
Yeah. Just
And now we
So
even for heart health now, like direct heart health, like we've had hormone testing and a lot of different things like that for at home stuff. But might be the biggest game changer because it addresses such a big problem, like
it's so
people's
common.
hearts. failing
Yeah,
is like the biggest problem there is in health, right?
One
absolutely.
of them.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the general trend towards people feeling accountable for their health as
Yes.
opposed to being the doctor's problem. It's like, no, you actually, and I think a lot of the consumer wearables do a good job driving it. It's
Hmm.
like, oh, you can own your health.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the more people feel in
That's
charge, the more they'll pay attention too, right?
exactly right.
Like when they can be their own doctor most of the time, and then when they do go to the doctor, they know how to talk to them and they know what the problem is already and things like that. I
Hmm.
feel like
Most
that will
likely gonna,
encourage people to actually interact with the system more. Yeah.
yeah, probably come with like three chat GPT queries deep on already diagnosing the issue before seeing the doctor. So yeah, I think it's an interesting
Exactly.
time for sure.
Yep. AI is not going to do everything like they say it's going to, but there are some things that it's going to be extremely useful for
Oh, yeah.
forever. It's
I
very good for some things.
Hmm.
I completely agree. I think the our view is that or at least my view rather is doctors are not going to get replaced, but they're going to have a lot of super tools at their hands that they didn't in the past. But there's still such a human element of being a doctor and understanding context of the patient and history of
Right.
the patient and
Well,
tone and how they answer questions and
Hmm.
nuance and that I think is not easily replaced. But if you can have that
No.
doctor like seeing the right patients or seeing more patients or seeing patients at home
Hmm.
as opposed to having people drive, I think they're going to remain critical to the entire system, but will be super powered over the next 5
Yeah.
years.
right. But it's I mentioned it earlier. It's like Star Trek. Like it's
Hmm.
literally becoming that where they just stick a device on you or just wave something over you and
Yeah.
they know exactly what's going on. But you still need the doctor to implement the
Yep,
things and to
Hmm.
I
talk to
agree.
the patient and make sure they're okay. And they're, uh,
I like the advocacy
and
piece of it too, right? Because it's
start,
always been you got to advocate for yourself. Well, now you have these tools and these apps and these readings that are giving you things, and you'll be like, here, look what
Yeah,
it says.
yeah.
So,
like the least popular Star Trek ever had a fake holographic AI doctor.
oh,
Think
really?
about that. Think
Is that
about that.
right?
All the, Voyager had a fake doctor. He was
You
an
would know
AI
him.
hologram. I'm just carrying the analogy through.
Yep.
You are.
Jeremy's got all sorts of little tidbits of information in
I,
that brain of his.
my mom will be very happy about all the Star Trek talk today.
Oh, that's funny.
I was raised by Trekkies. It's in my blood.
All right.
Well, good thing you're on a healthcare podcast so you can kind of geek out on all of the things like this that are happening. So we
I
could,
do. It really
Yeah.
yeah,
makes me think of Star Trek.
yeah. No flying cars. Instead, we have heart monitors.
You don't need
For
flying
We get
cars.
more sophisticated.
Actually,
Flying cars
we
will
yeah.
have
come.
flying we have flying cars. They're called helicopters. They're extremely difficult to fly. Most people aren't going to be able to fly those.
That's true.
I have a friend who flies them. I've seen how complicated. Like I'm
You're
not.
like,
I
I'm
would never
good.
even try.
Never been in one, ever.
So with Peerbridge, I want to talk to you just before we start to wrap up here because I'm just checking the time. So you've been around for 2.5 years, is that right?
Yeah, I've been with the company for 2.5 years. It had been around for about 6 years before I joined,
Oh,
developing
okay.
the hardware side. So
Oh,
Sandy and
gotcha.
I joined a couple of years ago to try to push it a little bit deeper on the software side. But yeah,
Got
it's
it. Got it. Okay.
3 years now
So,
last month.
oh, wow. Okay. So not brand new, but the the tool itself though coming kind of onto the market, like that's
Yeah.
relatively new or
It is,
recent,
yeah.
I
So we
should
just
say.
launched on the arrhythmia side a couple months ago. We have a sales
Hmm.
team in, one of which is in New Mexico. So he's dealing with the same kind of issues you described in Arizona with a lot of Native American
Hmm.
reservations and how do we go reach them.
Yep.
But that's just out now. And then of course, the more interesting things that I get really excited about, I'll have to make sure the FDA is comfortable before we can start commercializing, but
Yeah.
available in trials today.
Okay. So you're working on other things that it can measure and test and monitor and all of that. So more to come. So the
More to come.
core, right?
Core
COR.
is Latin for heart.
Oh,
COR.
Oh,
Core.
French is COEUR. Le coeur. That's
For
not French.
heart. Is that right?
Core, yeah, in French,
There
that's
you
how you
go.
spell it.
Latin.
Yeah.
There you go.
I get to use my French every once in a while.
they like
Um,
extra letters in
I don't
French.
know why
I'll never get it.
I didn't put that together when you just like COR, like of course it's
Yeah.
another another word.
And
Well,
your
I love
heart is your core.
it is.
That,
It is.
yeah, makes a
So
lot of sense.
more things coming. So you're just going to continue to be able to essentially grow and expand on what this device does.
Yeah,
Um,
the more utility we can have, like kidney is really interesting to us. There's actually, and a lot of
oh,
this, like I said, we're not necessarily inventing anything, but like PTSD, monitoring PTSD therapy
oh,
effectiveness through HRV and a few other
interesting.
things. So the thought is the more power you can add, and then you start adding like kind of rare-ish diseases, the things that you don't get to until 3 years of tests fail. Um, but could be like the one extra thing we look
Hmm.
for. Um, makes it more and more compelling just to be like, hey,
We've talked about
really,
some
really
things like that.
quickly. And it doesn't have to be, of course, perfect, but we want to look for it, so that then the doctors can take over from there with their expertise. But yeah, the kind of compounding clinical utility of each thing we add is kind of how we think through our development
Awesome.
pipeline.
That's really cool. That's exciting. PTSD. Wow. Okay. That's wow.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean
looking
it's
forward to the day where it's all on one little device because
Right?
boom, Star
yeah,
Trek.
yeah,
That's Star Trek.
it's there's a lot of really interesting research there for sure. And
I bet.
it's not necessarily to have a like a numeric answer for what level PTSD you have, but you can see if you're improving. So outside of
Hmm,
verbally asking, like, is whatever a drug or whatever
sure.
behavioral therapy or whatever it may be, like, are you seeing improvements in anxiety levels, which you can measure in a few different places, is an interesting kind of empirical way to say
Hmm.
like, all right, it's working, let's continue, or hey, maybe we need to try something new um,
Yeah.
for the soldiers
Well,
because
we'll keep an eye on what's going on over there. And as you begin to expand into other areas, we'll have to bring you back to talk about what's going on there. But in the meantime, if somebody was interested in the core device, how would they
yes,
get in touch with you? Where would they find you to learn more about it? I would say probably cardiologists and maybe primary care doctors being your two core groups of people. Core.
yeah,
Look at that.
Yeah.
core, yes, pun intended.
Yes,
That
totally.
would be the right spot. Of course, just to learn more, to read about the research, you can go to our website at peerbridgehealth.com.
Okay.
Or anybody, if they're just curious, is welcome to contact me as well. My email is just c.darland@peerbridgehealth.com.
Awesome.
So it is prescription, so it would need to go through a clinician
Uh-huh.
if you're interested in using it. But
Yeah.
happy to talk with anybody who's interested in helping to think through how we get this out to the rural communities. That's usually about a third of my day every day is
Oh, wow.
plotting that endeavor, which for sure we won't do by ourselves. So anybody interested in partnerships or health systems that are trying to tackle the same problems, always
Yeah.
happy to tell.
At least this should be in every clinic everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd
Well,
I
be
mean, what a
great.
great thing.
I
That's
always
my
say
hope.
too, be an advocate. We've every people that listen to this show, we're all end users, I guess, of the healthcare system and, advocate for yourself. I think a lot of,
Absolutely.
bringing ideas of things that you hear about to your own doctor to say, hey, have you ever heard of it? I literally did this with a non-opioid pharmaceutical drug that I found out about that my husband's ortho doc didn't know about, and I told them about it. I went in and said, "You
Did
need to
you?
look into this." And they're like, "Wow, we
That's
didn't know
fantastic.
about this." I'm like, "That's because they don't have big budgets to be walking in all these offices, selling their widget, right? Which
Yeah.
was for them, it was a pill." And I just happen to know somebody who worked in the specialty pharmacy industry that told me about it. And so I walked in the office with the information. He looked it up and he was like, "Oh, this is great." So you can influence your own doctors, folks. Tell them about it and then tell them to go look into it.
It's really
So,
kind of the way of the world now.
yeah.
It is.
So, I'm the more you know. There goes my star and my rainbow.
Yeah.
Can you add that to the video,
That
Jeremy?
reading rainbow, is that?
There it is. Yes.
I don't want to get sued. I can go like this though.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Well, Chris, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for letting us in on the good work that you're doing. More remote monitoring, more, devices, all the tools that we can put in our tool belt. I think the better and healthier we can have, right? Better outcomes, and less burden on the healthcare system, less burden on providers, which who are already burnt out. So I think this is definitely one way to do that. So
Yeah, and families and caregivers, and it's a tricky time, but yeah, we're optimistic. Thank you for having me. I appreciate
cool.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
Another new area. Heart. I like it.
Thanks for joining us on the Healthcare Uprising. Make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons before you go, and take a moment to think of a friend and hit that share button. You can find us on all the major audio platforms, and we've got video on YouTube and Patreon, patreon.com/healthcareuprising, if you want to watch us in action.
You can also find us on social media on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search Healthcare Uprising to find us. And if you're a new company or a creator with a cool new product for the healthcare space, or if you're someone with a personal healthcare journey and you'd like to share it with us here at The Uprising, please email us at healthcareuprising@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you about coming on the show. That's all for this dose of Healthcare Uprising. Till the next time, keep looking for the good in the world, because sometimes it's where you least expect it.
This has been a Shut Up production.